camera keeps taking shots of Jinwoo as he walks down to pay his respect. When the Jeju Island raid finally comes to a close, it is all anyone can talk about. During the raid, the public gets a chance to see him in action for the first time since he became an S rank, and he basically makes his debut in Jeju. Because the entire country has been invested in the raid, people can't stop talking about it, and he becomes a hot topic of discussion. Although his actions are praised, he is unable to avoid criticism, as many believe the death toll could have been minimized if he had participated sooner. There are those who voice their support for him, but not many try to refute the criticism, since it is true that casualties were suffered. Standing in front of Hunter Byung-goo's picture, the sound of tears and wailing echoes in his ears. As he turns, he sees Hunter Yoonho, and as he is about to walk past, Yoonho tells him that he always believed a single hero couldn't end a war alone. But after the recent events, he is starting to think he might be wrong. He tells him to keep his chin up, saying he was able to put an end to the tragedy, and thanks him. Without a word, he walks away, noticing Hunter Cha looking at him before she quickly turns her face away. The news reports that a total of 4,801 hunters participated in the 5th Jeju Island raid, with 727 awakened civilians called to arms. 64 awakened beings and 30 civilians died in the battle. The death toll is dismal, but the final raid still has the least casualties compared to the previous 4 attempts. Later that day, he meets with Chairman Go, who asks if he is planning to open his own guild. The chairman explains that certified S-rank hunters don't need to obtain a guild master's license and that he just needs to make a phone call to the association and the rest will be handled. He replies okay and thinks to himself that he should also look into the benefits he gets as an S-rank. The chairman then asks if he has placed any sort of barrier on Jeju Island. Looking confused, he listens as the chairman explains that soldiers and hunters sent to clear and corpses and collect essence stones ended up losing consciousness, even though they were all A rank or B rank and included members of the Knights Guild. He wonders if maybe a barrier was cast and forgotten about, but he says no. The chairman nods, saying he didn't think so either. When asked what the soldiers and hunters said after waking, the chairman explains that they have no recollection of events before losing consciousness and no way of knowing if it was magic. He thinks to himself if it could have been a trap left behind by the ants. Just then, one of the chairman's security approaches and the chairman excuses himself, saying a guest has arrived earlier than expected. He thanks him for his time, but he tells him not to mention it, thinking to himself that he should return home as well. At the car park, as he is about to get into his car, someone approaches, asking if he is soon Jinwoo. The young man smiles, introducing himself as Adam White, a senior officer from the Federal Bureau of Hunters. He repeats the name in his head as Adam stretches out his ID, apologizing for showing up unexpectedly, saying he is a hard man to track down and even stopped by his office. Remembering Jinho mentioning a foreigner looking for him, he asks what business Adam has with him. Adam says he would like to share information with him, information no country or institution in the world could provide besides them. Curious, he asks why they would want to share it with him, and Adam explains that they benefit from sharing knowledge with special individuals like him. He adds that he was the only one meant to meet him before, but the Jeju Island raid has left a strong impression on their deputy director, who now wishes to meet him in person, saying it is unprecedented. Adam explains the director will give details and tells him there's a car waiting nearby if he is interested. Opening his own car door, he says he doesn't know if the information is reliable and will call after giving it some thought. As he gets in, Adam smiles to himself about forgetting that a good hand should never be hidden when making a deal. Then he says something that catches his attention, mentioning that an upgrader is an awakened being who can enhance the abilities of another awakened being, and asks if he has ever heard of them. He decides to follow. Soon, they arrive, and inside they meet the deputy director, who introduces himself as Michael Connor. Shaking hands, he also introduces himself, with Adam acting as interpreter. The director gets straight to the point, placing an immigration document on the table, explaining that such processes usually take 1 to 2 years. But they are willing to make an exception for him. With just a word, he could become an American citizen instantly. Feeling annoyed, he says he came because Adam told him there was information to share, recalling what Adam said about an upgrader. He asks if it is really possible to upgrade a hunter's abilities. Smiling, the director says that someone with such powers is here right now, then calls for Ms. Sellner to come in as she walks in majestically. The director explains that the only person in the entire world capable of enhancing an awakened being's abilities is present, and he introduces Ms. Norma Sellner. Jinwoo says to himself that he can tell she is a completely different type of awakened being. The director asks her to tell him the scope of her powers, and she turns to him, saying he must be skeptical about all this, that everyone gives her the same look of doubt at first, but once he gets a taste of her powers, he will be begging for more. Her expression turning serious. Hearing this, Adam begins to feel uneasy for Jinwoo. Moving closer, she tells him that, as he already knows, every awakened being has a limit to their strength and no one can surpass it unless they undergo a second awakening. She says this fact is not common among hunters. He replies that she can change that, and she confirms, explaining that she can help awakened beings reach beyond their potential through a 3-stage process that lifts their limitations, though she isn't certain what to call her power. She says it could be a forced reawakening or simply drawing out someone's true potential. The director confirms all she says, adding that she needs a long rest every time she uses her power, so only 3 or 4 awakened individuals can receive her aid each year. His face fills with surprise as he thinks that if he becomes one of those few and if she is telling the truth, her ability is incredible. He asks how effective the process is, and she explains that results vary, but after all 3 stages, the individual gains a 20% to 30% increase in strength. Hearing that makes him want to try it, since such an increase is huge. He now understands why Hwang Dong-soo moved to America despite public hate. No hunter would turn down such an offer. He asks what happens if people find out about her powers, but the director cuts in, saying that's why she is under their care, receiving protection and a suitable salary while she enhances the abilities of hunters they choose. They say they would love to give him her power as a gift. He scoffs, asking if they don't mean offer, but the director says that once he joins the Federal Bureau of Hunters, he will be their top priority, get preferential benefits, and they will even arrange a meeting with the guild of his choice to sign the best contract. He is told there's no rush in deciding, they are just easing him into things. Still confused, he hears Ms. Sellner insist it is a gift, and the director asks if they have his permission to lift his limit. He asks if he isn't giving anything in return, but the director says to see it as a complimentary service. Remembering her confidence that he will be begging for more after trying it, he allows her to hold his hand. She tells him to look into her eyes closely, saying this is the first step. As the process begins, the director thinks with a sly smile that it's nice he took the bait, believing that once the first stage is complete, Jinwoo will be the one trying to contact them, maybe even signing the papers on the spot if impatient. He notes that Goto Ryuji was strong enough to be a national-level hunter, yet Jinwoo accomplished what he could not, completing the Jeju Island raid with powers never before seen, and wonders how much more he can achieve. As the process continues, her eyes light up as she enters a different realm, her aura overwhelming both of them. Suddenly, she finds herself in a dark, empty space, seeing nothing except him with his eyes closed. Trembling, she tries to take a closer look. He suddenly opens his eyes, and the light in them drops a deep fear into her, making her scream and pull her hand away. The room grows tense as security quickly draws their guns, pointing them at him and demanding to know what he has done to her. The director yells at them to stop, calling them morons, and tells them to check on her instead. As they do, he apologizes to Jinwoo for their behavior, but he still surprised and wondering what is going on, says it's all right. The director warns the agents that if they had done that to Thomas Andre or Liu Zhigang, they would all be dead, asking if they understand, and they reply yes. Moving closer to her, he asks what's wrong, noticing she is sweating, and turns to Jinwoo, saying she might be feeling unwell and suggesting they reschedule, promising to be in touch. Jinwoo agrees, and the director asks Adam to show him out. Still trembling, she mutters he is, then finally says he is a king, a powerful one. The director asks if that means a national-level hunter, but she says no, explaining she has never experienced anything like it before, that he is a king but not an ordinary one. She says that while she was looking at him, he was also looking back at her, but it wasn't Jinwoo, it was an infinite darkness within him, and on top of that, there is no limit to his powers. Still trembling, she mutters he is, then finally says he is a king, a powerful one. Chairman Go sits in his office alone, thinking that they lost Hunter Byung-gu, then corrects himself, saying no, he retired, so they can't call him a hunter anymore. It was a noble sacrifice, and it breaks his heart to bring closure to the raid like this. Now, he knows there will be more obstacles ahead, and when that happens, it might not end with just one sacrifice. Just then, his phone rings. It's Zoe. He picks up, and she reports there is a B-rank gate in the middle of the road. He thinks to himself that if it's B-rank, it's not something an average attack squad can handle, so he replies that he will contact a big guild right away. Then he remembers and says, wait, didn't Hunter Sung Jinwoo open an office near that area? Jinwoo, on the other hand, sits inside his car, stuck in a hold-up on the road, thinking that Ms. Selner definitely saw something, but what? Was it a trace of the system? He wonders what she was afraid of, remembering her eyes full of terror, and concludes she probably won't meet him again. Looking up, he asks what's with the traffic, reminding himself that this is why he prefers the subway. Just then, his phone rings. It's Chairman Go. He picks up, and after introducing himself, Jinwoo asks if something is wrong. The chairman explains there's a gate in the middle of the road. Hearing that, Jinwoo thinks no wonder the traffic is terrible. The chairman says it seems to be a B-rank gate and asks if he can take care of it. He replies without permission. The chairman laughs, asking where he got the idea of needing permission. Jinwoo answers, from the Hunter Association, and the chairman grins, saying, and who am I? Smiling, Jinwoo replies, the chairman. He adds that he doesn't need to worry, then thanks him for the meeting. No, he means thank you. At the scene, the gates are a total mess. News reporters broadcast live that the gate appearing on the West Coast Highway is causing chaos, urging everyone to follow the rules. One Hunter Association officer spots Jinwoo and shouts, hey, wait, you can't get in here without permission. Then he realizes it's the S-rank hunter himself. People start noticing from their cars it's him, here to take care of the gate. The officer asks how he got here and says even as an S-rank he can't ignore the process, has he received permission. Without answering, Jinwoo picks up his phone to call the chairman. But before he can, the officer warns that even with permission, he can't enter without enough people. Hearing that, Jinwoo thinks it sounds different. On the phone, he says he's at the scene, but there's a problem, then hands the phone to the officer, who hesitantly asks who it is. Jinwoo replies, someone you cannot ignore. The chairman's voice comes through, and the officer begins to shake, quickly agreeing to let him in. Without being told, Jinwoo enters the gate. The on-duty station officer thinks to himself that he hopes Jinwoo trips and breaks an ankle. Suddenly, the gate reveals itself to be a red gate, and fear spreads through the crowd. The officer wonders if this happened because he wished for it. Inside, Jinwoo senses it's a red gate, the exit nearby, and thinks he might have to overdo himself. That word reminds him of his mother warning him not to. She once said they can't do anything about people's weakening, and as an ace rank, he would have to save many lives like his father did. She had fallen in love with his father when she saw him saving people, and since he's his son, she told him not to overdo it. Smiling, he felt relieved she wasn't against all of this. Well, this won't be too much for him, he'll finish within a day. He calls out his shadow soldiers and the battle begins. His magic shadows unleash fire on the enemy, and watching them, he thinks a hunter is born to hunt. Monsters aren't the only enemy. A hunter must be careful not to be hunted as well, because positions can change at any moment. Rich hunters especially must never lower their guard. Even with hundreds of thousands of hunters, the hunt never ends. His ant soldier, Beru, stands atop the dead monsters, roaring in victory. All his shadow soldiers line up on both sides, clearing a path for him to walk through. They bow, and he says, "Let's move on to the next target." A gate suddenly opens on the mountain, and the leader of the Night Guild is shocked at the creature that steps out. He asks, "You, what the hell are you?" The creature answers, "He is not the one either. They are hiding cleverly under the brilliant fragment of light." Another gate opens, and another creature emerges, calling out to the first, "Yogamond, what happened?" "I'm here to let you know about the East Island." He turns and says, "If it is about the small island to the east, it is the place of the Shadow Monarch. Didn't you decide to take care of that place?" The other replies, "It seems like the rulers are going to release Legia out of that place." "I will take that place," Yogamond says, then the Shadow Monarch, but he is cut off as the other says, "If the planner fulfills the contract, I think it will be all right. One more thing, there is some good news. In that place, the greatest fragment of brilliant light has been confirmed." He smiles, "Interesting. You intentionally came here to tell me that." The other asks, "Then what will you do about it?" Yogamond answers, "If you are willing to concede it to me, then why not? But more importantly, it looks like we are being lured here. This guy can't possibly wield the power of the brilliant fragment of light. I was wondering why he left a trace." The other says he plans to get in their way. A rough-looking man suddenly walks up to them and asks, "The small island to the east, are you referring to Korea?" Yogamond replies, "So, what are you going to do about it?" The other says, "Such a shame, we won't have time to play with you. Try to stop us if you can." As they prepare to leave, the man says he won't allow it. He draws a lightning sword, declaring he won't let them escape, and charges at full speed. His strike is blocked by Yogamond's ice spell, forming a shield. Anger twists both faces as the man presses harder to break the ice. Everything explodes. Back at the Red Gate, the boss of the gate speaks to Jinwoo. "Was it you? The one who's been killing my people? I must say I am impressed to be able to reach this far with that small body and also speak our language. But all this ends here. My people are already lying in wait. Come out now, everyone." He yells, but no one appears. Jinwoo says, "Small. Now that is funny. Come out." At his order, shadow soldiers step out, dropping the heads of the boss's soldiers they killed in secret. "Seems like no one is left," he says. Fear fills the boss as he realizes all his troops are gone. Jinwoo stands with his army, and the boss shouts in fear and anger, "You!" Before he can finish, Jinwoo orders, "Get started." His soldiers rush forward, overwhelming the enemies at lightning speed. Two beasts reach for him, but Tank tears them apart. The boss cries out, "My children!" Fear consumes him as Black Ant and Igris charge together, slicing off one of his arms. The system notifies Jinwoo Tusk is using the skill. Hymn of Giant. Tusk grows larger, and the system announces Tusk is using the skill Inverse Gravity. The boss is slammed up and down by the spell until he dies, the last thing he sees being Jinwoo. Jinwoo says, "Now you will answer my question. It will be less painful for you if you do." Nothing to say, must be the system interfering again. "I will find out sooner or later anyway." The system appears before him. He thrusts his hand inside and pulls out a key, thinking, now the key from the course random box. "I reached level 100 at the Jeju Island raid and met the minimum requirement." He recalls the system notifying him that information about the key would be released soon. The details appear. Name, Cardian Temple Key, difficulty level, item type, key. You can enter the Cardian Temple with this key. You can use it on a specific gate. The designated gate location will be revealed in a certain amount of time. Time remaining for 117 hours, 06 minutes, 52 seconds. Looking at it, he thinks. The key to the Hae-in temple. I can't forget that dungeon, the double dungeon. The system is calling me back to where it all started, but it is different this time. If it has been arranged since the beginning, if it is waiting for me to return, then wait for me. I will be coming soon. The image of the double dungeon burns in his mind. Jinwoo keeps staring at the computer angrily as he tries to cancel every complaint people are making about Sung Jinwoo, cursing the haters and yelling that the obstacles in Jinwoo's way won't be forgiven, sending complaints after getting sued and crying like kids won't work. After a short time, he finishes and relaxes on the chair, saying another day another thing, that he managed to single out all of the groups slandering his Jinwoo. Just then, he hears Jinwoo's voice behind him praising his hard work, and he is so shocked that he thinks to himself how he comes and goes without making a sound. When asked if there is any trouble, he replies there is nothing, but wonders why he is dressed like that, only for him to reply that he just came out of a gate, reminding him they needed money for the guild as he presents a bag of magical cores. Seeing they are high-level cores, Jinwoo becomes excited, asking if he just cleared a high-ranking gate, then praises him, saying they won't have to worry about salaries for the employees. When Jinwoo repeats employees, Jinwoo reminds him they need one more member to start a guild. Jinwoo remembers, agreeing they needed 3 founding members, a guild master, vice guild master, and a third member, and adds that even if it is just a head count, it is better to choose someone sincere who can work with them. Jinwoo then points out there's something more urgent, leaving him confused only to hear it's the guild name. Relaxing, he says he thought it was serious, but Jinwoo insists it's very important, suggesting names like Sunyu Guild after their last names, Wuhai Guild from their last characters, or Jinjin Guild from their middle characters. Just then, Jinwoo suggests Solo Play Guild, freezing Jinwoo in surprise as he explains it's a solo player guild. Jinwoo turns away angrily, thinking if that was supposed to be funny and that there's something Jinwoo isn't good at after all. A knock interrupts them, and when Jinwoo opens the door slightly, the visitor asks if this is Hunter Jinwoo's guild. He replies yes, but asks who is speaking, only to freeze in shock when he sees it is Hunter Hae-in. Jinwoo asks why she is there, and she mumbles before saying she wants to join his guild. Surprised, he asks her to clarify, and she repeats herself. Wondering what is going on, he asks if the association chairman sent her, but she says no, and when he asks if Choi Jong-in kicked her out, she denies it too. Growing serious, he questions why she would want to join his solo play guild, which surprises her when she hears the name. He tells her it was agreed with the vice chairman, but Jinwoo immediately objects, saying it was never decided, and asks about the names he suggested. Jinwoo simply says he didn't say anything, so he thought that meant he agreed, as tension rises. He thinks they need to calm down because the situation is confusing, and looking at her, he notices her pulse, breathing, and expression. She is pretending to be calm, but he can tell she is hiding something. He mentions it's been 2 years since she awakened and assumes she is still under contract with the Hunter Guild, but she says she has enough money to pay the penalties. Realizing she is willing to pay them, he tells her the guild lacks resources to compensate someone like her, but she says she doesn't need a down payment either. When he asks why she wants to join if there is nothing to gain, she silently recalls moments from the past, the first time she noticed his scent, researching about him, the Jeju Island raid where she thought she would die, waking up in a helicopter with Chairman Go and immediately asking if Jinwoo was there, feeling relieved when she heard yes, and knowing it wasn't a dream. She tells herself she can't tell him all this, bows her head, and says she wishes to follow him till the end. Blushing and covering her face, wondering if it's something she can't tell him, he suspects it may have been planned from the start. When he says she won't answer him, she claims she just wants to live comfortably, asking if that is wrong, to which he quickly replies no. Jinho whispers that she must have been pressured by the hunters to want to stay, and Jinwoo thinks about how she is only 22 or 23. The burden of being S-rank and the hardships of Jeju Island. Still, he says there is an entrance test, which surprises her since it wasn't in the recruiting notice, but he claims the vice chairman must have made a mistake. Sending Jinho to fetch snacks and drinks, he tells her she must win against one of his summons, looking disappointed. She asks if he thinks so little of her and wants to know which summon, and he replies that for her he will use the strongest one. She agrees, looking serious. Want to know how things go with Jinwoo's guild? Kindly subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to stay updated. Don't forget to leave a comment on our video. Until next time.